who will be on the sideline in Buffalo Sunday afternoon for the Chiefs radio network. You'll hear him right here on 96.5 The Fan. We were talking during the random question of the day, Kling, about Halloween. Now, your kids are both out of the house now, right? Or at least at college at this point. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you even mess with Halloween anymore?
Well, we discussed it, and I thought, well, we're going to be home Friday. I don't want to sit in the house and not have the light on, so we're going to pass out candy, but we'll see. I bought extra just so I'd have some to eat. So
what's the
I'm hoping it pays off.
What's the busyness? You sound not excited about it at all. What's the busyness level of your neighborhood, trick-or-treating wise? I feel like it's all gone down since trunk-or-treating existed.
Yeah, it really has. It's really hit and miss. There was one year I know, my daughter and her friends were like, we're just going to stay here and hand out candy, and they were so excited. It was a couple of years ago, and they were like, this was so boring. No kids came by, and it was really kind of slow. So we'll see. If not, I don't mind eating leftover candy. I think that's right in my wheelhouse.
Kling, what do you make about the signing the Chiefs are going to make of Mike Pennell? Look, I know that they haven't made it official. Blair Kirchhoff a minute ago said, no word from the Chiefs on Mike Pennell, but his jersey is hanging with gear in the locker room. So I'm going to take that as a sign as Mike Pennell is a Chief, and it's not just happenstance. He came to visit a day after getting cut. How much do they need kind of just defensive line depth? What do you think he adds to the team?
Well, I think he adds familiarity. Look, they wanted him to be a part of the team at the end of training camp, and I think he kind of ran into that veteran that you could manipulate in terms of contract, and wanted to bring him back to the practice squad and probably do the elevation every week kind of thing. And for whatever reason, that didn't work out, and he kind of went and did the same thing in Cincinnati. And so, I think he gets the drill, right? So he's going to come here. He's going to play limited amount of snaps, but has a definitive role every time he's been here, and has come up with some big plays in short bursts. So it feels like the familiarity aspect, which is big for the Chiefs. I think if they're not familiar with you, if we've seen this over and over and over again, it's hard to create a role for you. I don't know whether it's just what they do being a little more difficult or their unwillingness. I don't know where that line is, but clearly if you come in, mid-season, they're going to have a hard time finding a main role for you, right? So might as well bring a guy back that has familiarity, that's had some success in your defense before.
The other roster part to keep an eye on as well, other than Josh Simmons, is the injury to Isaiah Pacheco, where it sure feels like he's not going to play on Sunday, and they might use the bye week to make sure that knee is right for him. What do you think that does for the backfield, not only with Elijah Mitchell, who's been inactive, but I like the role they have Kareem Hunt right now. He's very effective in short yards. I'm a little concerned if they try to ask him to do more, does that have a trickle-down effect that hurts everything else that's been working right?
Well, would we have a problem if they asked Rashard Smith to do more?
I hope so. I hope that's what happens.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would maybe envision, you can't keep Kareem Hunt in his same role, but do you ask him to do an extra drive, and then you use more Rashard Smith? I think that's probably a possibility. Can you even imagine Elijah Mitchell factoring into the situation at this point in time? I would say no. He's been inactive every week. So is it two back this week and try to get by? Maybe. But yeah, I'd like to see that scenario where you add a little bit more to Kareem Hunt, and then you add maybe a bunch more for Rashard Smith for a week and see how it goes. Pacheco was lobbying to go back in the other day, guys. He was on the medical table. They checked out the knee. They gave him the thumbs up. He kind of jumped up and grabbed the helmet and was lobbying, Coach Reed to go back in. And I think they kind of said, the game's out of reach. Let's back you off. And he kind of said, yeah, okay. And then I saw him in the locker room, and he didn't look down or anything like, this is going to be anything. But obviously, maybe further medical tests, or the next morning it felt a little bit different. And now maybe it's a week-to-week thing. So certainly didn't look at all that serious at the time, and he didn't treat it as such. So hopefully it's shorter rather than longer. But it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to give him a breather. You want those two guys as fresh as possible later on in the season, not end of October.
I think one of the other ways they can do it, Kling, and it's not being discussed quite as much as they'll just hand the ball off to Worthy or Rashee Rice.
Rashee Rice is a massive part of, and they've shown a little bit of that. and I think that you're just scratching the surface of what he can do too. So yeah, I think they almost would probably scheme around it. Not to say you wouldn't activate another running back, but you'd maybe just have an emergency extra running back and scheme around it for a week.
How do you feel about this matchup versus the Bills versus previous years? I feel like this is one of the more confident I've been going into it. I know that doesn't make sense based on record, and it's not that the Bills are a bad team. They just don't feel as scary or as dominant as they've been in previous years. And it might just be because the Chiefs, Kling, are playing excellent football right now and blowing opponents out. Where are you with this matchup on Sunday?
Yeah, I think it's both. I think the Bills look a little susceptible. Certainly, I mean, they're going back to the well defensively too, right?
They just lost the defensive lineman.
Former players to come back. The Ed Oliver injury is a big one for them. And their ability to get after the quarterback a little bit. I don't know how good they are in the secondary. So I think defensively they look like they're, not quite maybe as imposing as they've been in other years. You still have Josh Allen and James Cook to think about. That's still a handful matchup, I think, for the Chiefs defense. But I'm with you. I'm probably more confident in this one than I have been in other matchups, because it just feels like the Chiefs are, pick your poison. How are you going to defend this team, right? They seemingly, you did the one thing you could do to them, and that was get them to turn the football over, but you didn't score points on it last week. And then at halftime, they decided to, put fuel in the engine and blow you away. So offensively, they look like they just have too many things to try to slow down. And then what can you say about the defense? It's just slammed the door on people since the Jacksonville game, right? And seemingly have kind of turned the corner and said, we're not doing this anymore. And so, yeah, I'm really confident heading into this one. Maybe that's a bad thing, be so confident heading into this matchup. But the Chiefs also need this game too. I mean, you guys have been talking about it. This next stretch of games is pretty huge if you're thinking about, well, one, you got to win the division, right? Don't put yourself in a position to have to still get a playoff spot. Go win the division. So you got some things to do before you can get to that point. And this next stretch of games will probably go a long way to determining, how much you're scrambling at the end.
Kling, like a lot of us in Kansas City, you've covered the entire Andy Reid era. He can say all he wants a couple of weeks ago that they're always this aggressive. They aren't, and they are now. And we have been, I think, all as a community, advocating for it for years. What do you make of the new look Andy Reid in the aggressiveness department?
Well, I like the fact that there's almost no question. Like, I stand obviously on the sidelines. Usually the special teams guys are warming up behind me. So it's the specialists, right? Winchester and Ariza and Butker are all warming up behind me. And, a lot of times they'll be, kind of almost jumping in front of me, ready to go in, right? And now there's like, well, the offense is out there and Pat's calling for a play. So, we'll just hang back. I thought the other day, I thought for sure they were kicking a field goal the other day.
On the 4th and 3 one, that was the one I was like, I couldn't believe he went for it. I couldn't remember another time Andy went for a play like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's like 95% he's putting the points on the board and kicking the field goal. So it's seemingly like a change of identity. The willingness, they've had success doing it too, right? And it's not just short yardage. They can kind of do whatever. I just think there's just so much confidence in this offense. And then I think backed up by the confidence in the defense. Like, okay, if you put the defense in a spot, well, is it the worst thing in the world? You're putting them in a spot at the 3-yard line defensively? No, probably not. So why not roll the dice a few more times? But I think it's their lack of indecision on it. They're just going and not, taking the time and maybe letting the clock run down and taking a timeout and deciding whether or not you're going to do it. It's been kind of, from what I've seen operationally, we're going right now, and here's the play. Let's go.
We're talking to Josh Klingler here on 96.5 The Fan. You'll hear him on the Chiefs radio network here on The Fan Sunday afternoon when the Chiefs take on the Buffalo Bills. He joins us each and every Wednesday here on Cody and Gold. The trade deadline will happen before we talk to you again. Do you think we're going to be sitting here after Tuesday at 3 o'clock that the Chiefs make a move or two?
I mean, who's available. I mean, I think it really largely depends on who's available. I still think defensive line, you could try to find something that would make sense at either end or tackle and try to boost that spot. I don't know where else you're really looking. I still don't think running back, has not made sense to me for several weeks based on the way they use their current running backs. Now, would you like there to be a more dynamic look in that regard? Maybe eventually, yes. But for this season, I feel like they're set at that spot. So to me, unless there's some other weird, injury they need to cover for, I guess I would still be looking at defensive line and probably defensive line only. I don't know if you get any takers for some of the stuff they have to maybe acquire, draft picks. I don't know how viable any of that is. But I think I would say defensive line, and that's probably about all you'd need to be looking at this point.
I got to say, I feel like there's a chance, or at least a decent chance, that somebody comes calling about their corners. Like, they have healthy scratches from Christian Fulton, who was a target of a bunch of teams in the NFL. Joshua Williams' name has come up before. Like, Kling, I think it might be they ship one defensive lineman out, but I think there's a chance one corner leaves.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get a taker, I think you're all for it. I've always been in the camp of you can never have too many corners, and when you think you have enough, then you run into problems. So I'm always like, I'm all in favor of stockpiling corners, but it'd usually be like younger corners, right? Plus, they have like the Kevin Knowles kid that's been brought up a couple times, and they seemingly like him. He plays on special teams as well, so it does feel like that they're in a spot of being able to move from that. If you're talking about those two specific guys that are don't really have a role in Fulton, albeit they like Williams on special teams, but he doesn't have as much of a role defensively. So something like that, if a team came calling, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you listen?
I guess from the next 3 game perspective, obviously no one's going to have a more difficult 3 game stretch. At Buffalo, at Denver, at home versus the current AFC leaders, Indianapolis. Rank those games in importance for the Chiefs. What do you think is the most and least important?
I think at this stage, Denver's probably the most important.
I agree.
Secondarily, Buffalo from like a fan talk psyche perspective.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
Like Buffalo's still the rival. Whoever else is rising in the AFC, we all expect Buffalo will be a team you have to contend with in the postseason. And then probably the Colts after that. And that's no disrespect to what they're doing. Are they for real? I don't know. I just look at the quarterback matchup. Like, come on, like, you know what I mean? Like, we still look at quarterback matchups, right?
Yep.
And you can't tell me that's anywhere close to the same stratosphere when that game comes up. Granted, they do some other things you're going to have to contend with in the run game, obviously, but you still get coach quarterback, and you're like, come on, is that? So that's number 3 for me. Maybe in a couple weeks when it's the biggest game in the NFL, we'll have a different answer. But for now, it's probably Denver the most important because you got to chase down the division. You can't let them out too far, and then Buffalo for the mental aspect.
Josh Klingler, appreciate it, man. We'll be listening Sunday afternoon right here on the Fan.
I was also told no snow in Buffalo, so I'm all about it.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, we thought it said like 50 degrees, which is not bad.
Yeah, I'll take it.
There you go. Kling will be on the sideline there for what maybe is the last time in that stadium. We'll see if the Chiefs have to go back there in the playoffs, but otherwise
it's either the last or the second to last time. Yeah.
So it wouldn't be bad if the Chiefs want to get one, maybe have to get 2. Hopefully, only have to get 1 wins in Buffalo before they move to a different stadium.